Hi, it's Gothic Angel here today, and I have a review of comparisons for today. We know of Lucy Cavendish and the wonderful decks that she has done, and we know of the lovely work that Jasmine Beckett-Griffith has done. And there was some controversy over some of the differences when the Oracle of the Shapeshifters came out. And the first one came out, I do believe, in Australia, and it was published by Blue Angel. And the second time it was published was Beyond Worlds, Simon Pulse, and that was done in the United States. So here's the two boxes. They're the tiny little bit of difference, not really even noticeable. The bottom, I mean, they're pretty much the same, and both have the same backs, and they both open the same. Typical. I'm just going to take that glaring light off of there. Both have the very typical opening. Now, the only difference is that the American has this insert. So when you put your cards in, they don't slide around. This is the same size as the cards. So if you put your cards like this, they fit right into there. And then your book just sits up on top. And the Blue Angel box for the Australian deck, it just was open like this. It didn't have any place, so your cards could rattle around a little bit inside. So that was a plus for this side. So we'll just get these out of the way now. And I really wondered when I got them, why am I even going through this? Because if they're the same, there should be no difference. So let's take a look. We'll take this, put that pile off to the side, and this pile off to the side. We'll just take a look at the two books. And very similar. What we did notice on the front, which I should have mentioned before, was that they changed the artwork. The American version, they did not want to publish the front with this image. I couldn't say at all what their reasoning was. Could be she was a tattooed little girl and they didn't think that was appropriate. So they did use this other image on this side, and the only thing that might not be right about that is that this image is not one of the cards that we find in the deck. Another difference is that we have 176 pages in this book with the American book, and we have 164. Now that could also be partly because they do change some of the cards, and some of the cards have different meanings afterwards, but we'll get into that. So I'm not going to go into all the changes that are in the books. That would take way too long. It's enough to say that they are different. I think that might have fixed the light. We're still going to get a bit of a reflection, but this is the Australian back of the cards, and she is one of the cards as well. And this is the American back, a little bit different. There is no card. There is this frog does appear in one of the cards, but there is no card that is like this. All right, so let's get in to the cards themselves. So number 6, let's move those up where you can see. Our number 6 is the Fairy Bee, and she speaks that her life is sweet, and one of the images is mostly eyes, and the other is perhaps because she has the tattoo again and is wearing a fairly uncovered opening on her little outfit there, but otherwise completely different girl. One has fairy wings, and we sort of lose that once we can't see that part of it. All right, the next one was on the number 10 card, you can see they're completely different images again. One is raised by wolves and it says you belong. The other is hedgehog love, positive, uplifting new friends. Maybe they wanted to send, again, a different message with this, but they're completely different. I feel that there is probably a difference even in how you would perceive the cards, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. Number 12. Again, we have a close-up version, and we see a little bit more in this deck, the sort of the stock Jasmine Beckett Griffith, Jasmine Beckett Griffith with the big eyes. Again, she has a phoenix in both of them, but the eyes and the girl have been much more prominent in this one. And it says something you thought finished bursts back into life, so the meaning is the same on both. On these ones, we have two completely different cards now. One is the Australian is A Time to Say Goodbye. The other for the US is Phoenix of the Waning Moon. They both say the same message of something is about to end for now. I don't think these two images could be much different, even though they both are Miss Spiderweb. And they say reconsider your alliances and make new connections. The images really couldn't get much different. But again, we will see on, whoops, we've got those reversed. On the Australian one we have cleavage, and on the American one we do not. Make sure I got those on the right sides this time. Okay, so here we have, again, almost completely different images. One is speaking on the Australian saying dinosaur friends, and the other is saying your imaginary friend. They're both childhood treasures resurface, but the girls and the animals are completely different. These are a little closer to the same, but image is quite different. You get a different look on the girl's face. The one is a little bit dreamy and far away. The other looks possibly a little too aggressive. I don't know. They have the same messages. Deep dark sea mermaid and find solutions in the unknown places in the darkness. Now, I personally really love the beautiful rat from the Australian version, and oops, they are again completely different. She has a beautiful little worm. I don't know, I guess they didn't like the idea of a child cuddling with a rat, or a fairy person even. Both of them send the message of take care of yourself. Alright, and here we have a little more similar to the images. The interesting thing though is they're both ferrets, and I think that they tried to, in the Australian, make the ferret a little bit more fey, whereas that seems to be an acceptable pet for the Americans. And we have the same message. The delicate fairy and her ferret. Change is natural good, and yes, it can hurt. And in this one we have quite different images. It really does seem that they wanted to get away from the little girl, or the young lady looking much more like the little girl. They both say the mermaid and her turtle, and turtle. One says the mermaid and the turtle, and the other says the mermaid and the turtle woman. And the message is, an elder will teach you. With these ones, really just coloring was different. They changed the blocking on this just a little bit. They both have the same message: pose brave flight, and you will not let fear stop you this time. Alright, we've got Wolves of Venice on the Australian and Strange Companions in Strange Places. The Wolves of Venice say you are far, far away from home. And the American Strange Companions in Strange Places says challenges, use your imagination. So it's a lot more upbeat a message. These cards, I would say, were pretty much the same, but I did want to include that they were different only because lost magic period, atonement, comma, rebalance after a period. There's just different punctuation. Alright, these ones are way more similar than some. Once Upon a Dreary, Midnight Dreary, both say creativity, genius, writing, expression, and artistic flow. And here we have one is an alligator and the other is a lovely dog. Alright, the albino alligator is from Australia. And the Rottweiler is the loyal guardian. They both say magical protection is necessary. I should say the albino alligator says magical protection is necessary, and the loyal guardian is a magical protector is there for you. Oops. Alright, now we have Poseidon's daughter, and you are like anyone else. So they're completely different. Poseidon's daughter has the message, you've been given everything you need, and you are unlike anyone else, says, your contradictions and complexities are interesting. These are too similar to really even make any real issue except for the blocking again. They both have the unending sadness of looking back, endless regret, obsessive grief, replaying the past, negative nostalgia. Our little owlin, which is the card on the Australian deck, they did bring it in a little bit. They made it a little bit more like a sunset night instead of the kind of dreary, misty background on the Australian. Both are little owlin and their wisdom as light as a feather. We're almost there, almost there. We have amphitrite, and little brown, or little brother, little sister. So we have completely different messages on these two. One has dragons, the other is, she's very, I imagine the fact that she was almost naked and her little brother is almost, or they both are naked, we'll be quite frank with that. The one says this, the Sea Queen's blessings, and the other says siblings, younger friends, responsibility. These are really quite different too. Both, actually, I like both of these. Mermaid in a koi pond, rediscover your individuality, become the dragon. And last we have the Mermaid of Immersion, gentle commitment. Pretty much different cards, but I think they have basically the same message. One looks a little younger, the other looks a little bit more inner teens. So there we have it. That was it. The Oracle of the Shapeshifters that was produced in Australia and wasn't produced as well in the United States. Thanks for watching and have a good night.